Well, here we are again, lockdown number 2. So, not exactly how I want to teach, but we've got to make the best of a bad situation. So, just checking in. How are you feeling? I had a kind of an ungrounded weekend. My energy was kind of all over the place. So I did the dog walk, did my own crystal meditations or holding my meditations. And I just had to reground all of the energies that I was feeling, not only for myself, but from other people. So really important that we check in regularly and notice how we're feeling, because if there's an accumulative build-up, it's going to hit you really hard, and then it's going to be harder to sort it out and deal with. So need to get on the physical side and start to see how the physical body is feeling too. So I hope I see you all soon rather than later, but in the meantime we will carry on with our little bits on the mat. So let's get into some little bit of movement onto the mat and see where the body has perhaps accumulated this stress, these feelings of restriction. And of course our body will contract and come down into these restrictions because of what's happening externally. So let's take a moment. Onto the mat. Just allow yourself time to ground. I want you to, again, come into how you're feeling. It's always important you can do it movement. Some people like to get on to move their bodies, or you can lie down on your mat, or you can just take a minute with your breath to feel the breath coming from the tip of the nose all the way down to the belly. And just allow for a few moments this grounding and centering of your own energies. Our energies, if they're all a little bit out there and we're all a little bit spreading thin, if we're trying to do too much. I had a bit of an overwhelmed feeling I've got to do so much. So it's just bringing it back into yourself, to noticing how you're feeling and where perhaps we can redistribute our energy expenditure. So find that breath, deep belly breath, feel the belly. You can even hold the belly and just feel that rise and fall of the belly. Let the belly relax out on the inhale and very gently contract in on the exhale. And just allow, it's very soothing for the nervous system, and brings us into that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest. So allows us a little bit of breathing space and time. And as that just settles the energies, if you've been busy, if you've been tired, if you've been overwhelmed, overloaded with everything, and this can be mental, this can be just inside the thoughts, just allow this space, this time. And I think as a lot of us are busy, even if our workload has stopped, but there's still things to do, it's really important to just take a pause, just to catch up with yourself and see what needs to be adjusted, what needs to be released, what does need to be actioned. There are still things we need to action, and that's fine too. Just letting that settle. It always feels good. Alright, let's bring ourselves. You can spend as long as you want to. If you want those pause moments, you can do lots of little ones during the day, or you can do one big long one. Everybody is different, so listen to what your body needs to do, not what I'm perhaps guiding you to do, or listen deep within rather than I have to do this, I have to do that. Just tune in and see what needs to be addressed. So I want to do a little bit of mobilizing onto the joints just to get these moving. Let's take the neck rolls, just taking that into little semicircles down, tracing down the collarbones and just feeling that opening up. My neck gets a little stiff because I hold a lot of energy into my shoulders, so that's where I accumulate my stress into my shoulders and also into my mind. When I start to overthink, the headaches come. So just allow, if you are happy to, you can take that in a full circle, but don't drop back into the back of the neck. Just allow that still to have space as you roll the neck or the head back. Don't just drop the head. Make sure you do both circles both ways, and noticing how that feels. It's a bit harder for me to go this way. This is feeling a little sticky on my right side. So just gathering that information as you move the body and moving it slowly so that we're not using momentum, we're not just using force. Notice how that body feels, all those muscles and joints feel as you move through the range. A few yeses, so lifting the chin up and dropping the chin down. Just feeling that space in the front and the back of the throat and neck. How does that feel? You can keep your eyes open or closed. It really doesn't matter how we execute movements. If you like that internal feeling, if you want to tune in more to the depth of yourself, then just close the eyes. Then a few no's, turning to look over the shoulder. Again, noticing how does that feel, and do you move from your shoulders rather than from your neck? A lot of us will tend to move the whole body rather than keeping the neck mobile. And it just feels nice to juice up all around the joints, around the fascia. Lovely. And then just bring that back to central, neutral, and just start to dip the ear towards the shoulder. And again, noticing if you're lifting your shoulder or dropping your shoulder to accommodate that movement. Just find that little bit of side to side. It feels really nice on your traps, side of the neck, side of the shoulders. And you can even make that movement quite little to juice up the axial point where the head meets the top of the vertebrae, the neck. And just find that little wobbly, that little Churchill dog. Just has these little nods. So a little movement in the back of the car. That makes me chuckle. And if you want to do a few more semicircles, just trace along the collarbone. And then just bring that back to neutral. Start some shoulder rolls, just getting into that movement around the shoulder girdle, forwards and backwards, and noticing how do those movements feel. I'm just going to take my hands off my knees, that seems to be restricting my movement. And lift and shrug, just lift and drop, shrug and drop, and just let that open up a little bit into the release phase. So letting go, letting the gravity take the movement down. We don't need to push them, just allow them to drop. I need a few more neck rolls. That's just a bit stiff for me in my neck. I woke up with a little bit of a stiff neck this morning. Lovely. And I just want to hold a stretch release here. So just taking hold of the back of the head. And very gently push the back of the head up into the hands. And very gently traction down into the head. So we've just got a little bit of a push and a pull. And just find that you'll feel that right the way down your traps, right to the center of the shoulder blades. And just hold that for a moment to take it into a little bit of a stretch. A little bit of release into the back of the neck and the traps. So if you're like me, you hold it in the neck and the shoulders. It will create a bit of a double chin, but we don't mind, it's fine. Just rolls of your skin. And you can add that traction, or you can start to yield and let it go a little deeper. And we can hold this for about 5 breaths or a little longer if you're enjoying it, if it needs it. And just ask those muscles now to soften. And let go. Doesn't need to hold anymore. And then very slowly, take the hands away first. And very slowly, there's huge space in between. And just very gently lift the head and do a few yeses. And a few no's. Just notice if that feels any difference. A few side to sides. And I just want to stretch out the top of the shoulder and the trap. So again, we can add traction. So we bring a little bit of resistance, a little bit of force onto the side of the head, and we very gently push up into the hand and pull down into the head. And you're going to feel this down the side of the trap, or the edge of the trap here, trapezius. And just take that for a moment. The hand can then start to reach away. We're just finding that a little bit of release. And again, you can hold the resistance, or you can just start to let it yield so that it drops down a little bit deeper. Oh, feels very nice. Just allowing those muscles to stop holding. There's holding patterns of supporting and lifting, push and pull that happens. And again, we just hold it for about 5 breaths. Make sure the breath is smooth. We're not holding the breath, we're not forcing the breath. Just keep that neutral inhale, exhale. And then just release the hand first, release the pressure, and drop it into a semicircle. You might find it a little bit stretched and a bit longer than the other side. And then back to a few no's and a few yeses. And if you want to, just take a minute to feel the difference. Feels like my left shoulder feels a lot lower. It feels almost spacious, so we'll do the right side. So again, you take hold of the side of the head, add that little bit of resistance, so you pull the head down very gently, don't force it, and then very gently you push up from the head into the hand. The hand can then, the other piece of the hand can just gently reach away, and you'll feel this down the side of your neck, top of the shoulder. And you can add that resistance for a little bit longer. And just ask the muscle to contract, and then when you let go, it's going to yield a little deeper. This side is very tight for me. I'm a right-handed person. And then when you let go, and let the muscles just soften, don't need to push or pull, the muscle then starts to relax. Oh, this side is very tight for me. Again, you hold this as long as you feel the benefit. Sometimes just as we come out of the release phase is when the muscle's really letting go. Give it chance, give it time. There's always time. And then slowly let go with your hand first. Drop down the other hand and roll this into a little semicircle. Ooh, I need a little bit more work on mine. Still feels a little bit short on my right side. A few no positions, just rolling the head side to side, and a few yeses. And of course we can do the little wobbles, little Churchill head, little nods, little side to sides. Oh, I just need to move my legs a little bit. Hip flexors got a little bit sticky. So let's just do some windscreen wiper. Feet, knees, just roll this side to side. Just find that little bit of roll. Allow this just to release out the tension we've got in the hips. So I think a little bit of hip work as well, a little bit of hip releasing. I feel like I need to do release work today rather than strength work. We'll do that another day. And we can let this just start to flop and just let this drop towards the floor. So we get past that point where we don't need to hold anymore. So if you go beyond and let it go, you don't have to drop from the top. You can let it go. That half the way, let it drop. And then just let that settle and feel that resonance bounce. I'm starting to walk forward. Feel that resonant bounce along the muscle, along the leg. Okay, I want to bring it into mermaid to release out the shoulders a little bit. Hips, these aren't shoulders. And just give this a little circle around your mat. I'm just conscious that I'm disappearing. I don't have a big enough space. So just find this little bit of circling around, and you'll feel the tightness on the oblique leg. If your knees don't allow this action, sit on a block, sit on a book or a cushion, just to lift the pressure off the knee. And that's absolutely fine. Don't need to be sat on the floor. Just start to do a few windmills side to side, so releasing out a little bit into the lats, as they will affect how the hips and the shoulders operate together. Mine's a little sticky tight. All these contracted thoughts that I had at the weekend have sort of settled into the body. So let's hold this into static stretch. If the neck's still a bit tight, just do a few yeses and nos to see where the tension's being held. And just allow the side of the body now. You don't need to reach away, just bring it into that length. It's the elbow that's moving away rather than the hand. So otherwise we stretch out of the shoulder itself. I've been pushing my ribs there, so I just needed to soften my rib down. Don't need to push my ribs. Just find the breath. And just allow that a little bit of space. I just feel that tension in my knee a little bit, so be careful of your knees. If you need to come out of it, please come out. And then just drop that shoulder forward, down and round. Back to the laterals, just open a windmill a little bit, just find that little bit of movement. Ooh, that feels better. And I just want you to lift and give the knee a little bit of a flop. Again, you can drop it, you can lift it and drop it. Don't hurt yourselves, make sure it's not dropping from too high. This is just a little bit of therapeutic work where we hold right into the joint and just allow that just to release and let go. The other side's a little tighter because we're in an oblique position, so just again give it a little flop, not as floppy, give it a little drop, but be careful, don't hurt yourselves, and just allow that resonance to run up towards the joint, a bit of vibration. And then just do some more circles. Let's get into a little bit more circling. That feels a little freer. And then just bring the legs up again, come out of the oblique mermaid. Sometimes can be a bit tight on the knee. Just roll this again, windscreen wipers. Again, you can flop it, you can give it a little bit of vibration and just see where that movement travels to and where does it stop dead. That'll give you an indication of where the body is perhaps still contracting, still protecting. And let's just drop this into the opposite mermaid side. So bring the opposite leg back and find those circles. Go into a little bit of movement. So my mat's travelled forward on the carpet. I need to travel backwards. So just find those little circles round and round. This side is a lot freer for me. I don't feel quite as tight on this side. Circle both ways. And just find that little bit of freedom, that little bit of movement. And then we'll do the side to side windmills. Just open up the laterals again. Feels nice. And then take that into the stretch. And again, make sure the ribs are closing towards the hip on the shortened side. And you're not pushing still. This doesn't need to, once it's contracted, doesn't need to keep pushing because then it'll push forward and it'll push the hip off the floor. So just find that into a little bit of openness. The elbow is where we want to reach from, not the fingers. Check this shoulder. This is my favourite move, to push that shoulder into a little bit of assistance. We don't need to assist this movement here. Just notice where the tension is and come back to the breath. Nice. If the neck is a bit, I've got to see where I'm going. Chin pushing. give that a little bit of release too. And then gently release that. And then we'll start to just, oh, we might need to just move that side to side, sorry. You could feel the energy running back down my right shoulder. And then just bring that into a little bit of lift, a little bit of floppy and drop. A little bit of floppy, because you're sitting on your sit bones, it allows this to release from the knee to the hip. So a little bit of release work, a little bit of letting go. And trust, you know, it's not dropping a long way, you're not going to hurt yourself. And just see if that can release any tension into the hip area. The other side, there's not going to be as much movement. It's in the oblique position, so you've got an internal rotate, well, a bit of an external internal. Bringing it across the body here. Whew. You've got an internal from the hip here and an external going from the bottom there. And then just undo yourself again. Give yourself a little bit of windscreen wipers again. I'll be under the couch soon. And just see the difference when we start to drop, if there is any difference. That was a push, I tended to push that one. So notice if you get to a point, can you let go? This side's not letting go for me. Doesn't want to let go. So I need to do a little bit more release work onto my right leg. And then just bring that onto your back. You can do a couple of release rolls just to free up anything along the back. Release rolls already freeing along the pressure points, along the meridian line. This will be the bladder meridian down the back of your body. Holding the back of the knees also, that'll take you down through those meridians too, those energy lines. And then just roll onto your back. Keep hold of the back of the knee, and you can do one at a time or both together. I'm going to choose to do one at a time. So take hold of the back of the knee, keep the hand there, and very gently drop the foot down towards your bottom. And again, it's letting go. We don't want to force it. It's not pushing it. It's letting go. Now, as that foot drops, it then has a little bounce. And let it just settle before you repeat. And then you can repeat that without the hands. Obviously, it'll go further. And keep your bottom. And just let that drop a few times. Then, let the foot drop to the floor. Repeat that. You drop into the bottom. And then drop to the floor. It's not pushing, it's trying to let go. Especially in the hip flexor here. Drop to the bottom. And then drop to the floor. Really nice. You get that resonant bounce, vibration all the way up your body. And then you can slide the foot away. Just slide it if you want to. My knees feel a bit sticky today. Or you can do the whole combination. Or you can just do one aspect. It doesn't have to be anything other than what you feel it needs to be. Give it a little windscreen wiper. Flippy flop, just to release out. This movement will run all the way up into the hip. And just allow that a little bit of freedom. And then we'll do the other side. So take the hands behind the knee, drop the foot towards your bottom. And I'm going to straighten that leg so you can see this side. And keep the knee bent or wherever is comfortable. And just notice, where is the tension accumulating? Because obviously down to the foot and the knee, it's going to affect your hips. Just allow that to open up. And with the hands there, you're creating more space behind the knee and therefore over the top of the knee too. Take the hand away, just let that flop to the bot. And that stillness is really important. So Try not to push it. You've got to trust and let it go. Then drop it to the floor. It's my favourite bit. Oops, a few clicks. Drop it to the floor. And we quite often try and stamp. So be careful of stamping. Just let it drop. Let it release. And feel all of it wobble. Allow it to wobble. You don't need to be so tight that nothing moves. Then you can slide the leg along the floor. Oh, it just feels so divine. Drop to the bottom, drop to the floor, slide along. Now you can repeat that as many times. I'm a bit of a fast mover, so I tend to move quite quickly. And then just windscreen wiper. Flop the foot side to side. And just feel that movement right up into the hip. Lovely. You can just let that settle, you can let that rest. While that's resting, just do yourself a couple of zombie arms. So we want you to lift up the shoulder and drop it back down. So if you need to slow this down rather than do it quickly, lift, push it away and drop it back. Notice what's happening in the neck. Are you pushing back in the head? And just allow that to lift and drop a few times. Lift and drop. Notice the difference. If we do alternate, one at a time, you will see the difference in your movement. Oh, just feels really nice. Again, this is going to help with the shoulders, the tension we hold, so you can lift both and drop. Being really careful, you can also lift up, bend the elbow, drop it to the floor and let it flop down. Please be careful, obviously, of any obstructions and be careful of your funny bones. So this is again really nice to drop and allow that release phase to happen. Excuse me. Now this one doesn't need to stay up. I've got to be careful of my furniture here. Not so much space, so hopefully you're in a little bit bigger space than I've given myself. Just allow that a little bit of freedom. I'm struggling on this side, he doesn't want to do it. I want to go backwards. And just be careful. You don't want to hurt anything. And then just come back, give yourself a little bit of a flippy flop. It's like a shimmy. And just allow that to release. Drop the arms, you can just give them a little bit of movement if you need to. Just open and close it. A little bit here. And the legs should have just settled while we've been moving. The arms, all of this is now tingling, allowing this energy to start freeing up into the hips. Just want to give yourself a hug. So notice which arm is on the top. So give yourself a hug. You might even be able to feel your shoulder blades behind your back. Don't worry if you can't. And just very gently squeeze those shoulder blades with your fingers. Just very gently press into the shoulder blades. You don't have to because you're leaning on them. That's going to be enough. And then your pecs have given you a contraction to hug. I want your pecs to then relax. So let the front of your body muscle relax. And then just hang out here. Just teaching the muscle to contract and then let go. And the fact that your fingers are underneath your shoulder blades, you're just on pressure points, it'll just release any holding contractions. And then release those arms. You can do a little eagle stretch, which is quite nice to open up across the back of the rhomboids, just hugging the arms. If you can't bind, just bring the forearms together. That's deep enough for you. And you can move the elbow higher. So if you're down here, you can move the elbow so it's in line with your face. But keep the forearms off the face. If they've started to drop down, just move them away. But just do it at your own level. And just notice, my shoulder's pushing a little bit, so it's gripping. So I just need to let go of my shoulder. Because I'm in a bind, it's supported. I don't need to force the shoulder to do anything. And then just undo that. Let it just drop open to a T shape if you have space. Bend up the knees and just roll the knees side to side. We will do the other arm, don't worry. Just roll the knees. Again, if you want to just let them flop, any floppy work is definitely beneficial. Just let those drop. And you can hold your twist. Now this is quite nice to leave the knees slightly open and away from you, because you're going to feel this down the front side of the body rather than in a deep twist around the trunk. But again, you move your legs as you need to, as they need to stretch. I rather call it a release. It's not really a stretch. Just roll out the head side to side. See if there's any tension in the neck still, and just look away from the knees. Now, one thing I'm always pointing out in class is check the ribs aren't flaring. If you're flaring your ribs and you're pushing your ribs up, you'll create a deeper lordotic spine at the base. And you want to try and pull your rib cage in very slightly and pull the breastbone down, so the upper thoracic comes back to the floor. Good, let's release that. Just flop it side to side again. Oh, it just feels so lovely. And just remember which side you've done. So we need to cross the arms the opposite way. So I had my right arm on top last time. I'm going to bring my left over the top. Hold into the back of the shoulder blade and then relax the arm. So can you see if I'm holding, I'm gripping, I'm quite forceful. And then when I let go, the shoulders also let go. So just give yourself a break, give that pause into the shoulders. And the front of the shoulders will also start to relax. And just let the breath now be smooth. It's making me feel quite sleepy. So when we've held on to things, it's tiring. So when we let go, we suddenly go, ah, that's better. Undo the fingers, bring that into your eagle arm. Might be stiffer this side, just notice, there's no judgment. If you need to bring the arms just into, together, sorry, no, my words there. And then just move the elbows up, but move the forearms away from the face. And again, just let go. My left arm's on the top, so I need to let go of my left arm because the right arm is doing the holding. So the left arm can relax. So your top arm can relax. Just allow that to breathe. Lovely. And then slowly let that go. Bring the arms back out to the T shape underneath the sofa. And just flop your knees side to side. Now remember, obviously, which side you did before, and we need to do the opposite side. I went to my left, so I'm going to my right this time. Just allow that to release, flop a couple of times. You will find you'll travel down your mat. That's fine. If you're letting go, if you're letting go of your tension, flop it over to the right. And just let that soften. Let the head roll a couple of times. A bit bunched up in my shoulders there, so adjust yourself so you're comfortable. And look away from the knees. Now you'll feel this down the front side of the body because the knees are further away. They're not coming up high here towards the trunk. And just find the breath. Squeeze a little bit into the rib cage. Pull the breastbone down, and that'll just bring the upper body back into the floor. Check the shoulders aren't pushing. They tend to help. And just let that breathe. Notice the glute and the hip isn't pushing, squeezing. Let it go.
slowly. You can stay there as long as you need to if you're finding that beneficial. Just allow this a couple more flops. I'm still a bit tight on this right side, so I'm just going to do some pelvic tilts. So just allow the pelvis to roll around the floor, so pressing away and lifting one side off. So we're allowing the back of the pelvis to roll. The pelvis rolls back towards the trunk and then rolls away from the trunk. You can do that not in a circular movement if you don't want to, and you can also lift one side and let it drop. Lift one side and let it drop. It's a very small, subtle movement. Lift one side, let it drop. Just sort of rolls back into the floor. Do both sides, lift one side, let it drop. Notice the difference on both sides. Although the pelvis it's not fused, it joins, we do move it differently. And that's where we get imbalances in the muscles around the joints. Lift and drop. And we're going to lift both and let it drop. Tiny movement, you don't need to lift high. Let it drop. Feel that resonance. Lift, let it drop. So let the bounce settle, let the drop settle. And then we're just going to do a few little cat-cow rolls and a floppy bridge. So just let this have a little old release, a little old flop. T-shirt goes for a little spin. And then drop it again. Lift, let it drop. Lift, let it drop. Let the knees flop side to side again. Just releasing all the tension. Everything we hold on to. Whoops, that was my knee on the couch. Just letting go of all these tensions. And you can repeat these movements more if you need to. If there's an area you found, mine's tight here, then you can let that go for a walk. You can let that repeat as often as you need to. So I'm going to let it lift and drop again. See if I've released anything out. Feels a bit better. And again, just roll around the floor a little bit. Just allow these movements to free up any restriction. Okay, I'm just going to let that settle. Give the feet a little flip side to side in unison or opposition. The shoulders have a little zombie. And have a little roll. And then just let this energy now settle. We've done quite a lot of releasing. And you can repeat as often as you need to. Just focus now. Notice where can you feel the tingles, where you couldn't feel them before. And just allow now the body to really surrender into the floor. If you find you're gripping at all, if the muscles are really tight, just squeeze the whole body. Tense, 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 everything. Squeeze, 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 and let it go. You do that a few times. Tense it, tense it, tense it. Really squeeze everything in your tummy, in your jaw, your face, and let it go. And one more, squeeze it all up, squeeze it all up, squeeze, 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 and let it go. And then just let everything settle. It's created a little bit of a chain reaction in my upper back. And then just let your body surrender to the floor. Focus on your breath. Just feel the breath coming from the tip of the nose down. Just let everything sink. Keep your focus on the breath so that we clear the mind. And just let everything settle. I'm going to aim for about 5 minutes. Just letting everything drop. Notice where you can feel the push, where you can feel the holding. Mine's my right shoulder, so consciously breathe into those spaces. Some Sometimes it's quite nice to put your hands there. You've got little pillows, rest them onto your shoulders and your hips. Just helps to ground it. And just let your body fully surrender. And just be aware of anything that comes up to the surface, anything that you no longer need. Whether there's tension in the mind, tension in the body, or tension in the emotions. And just allow them to go. Acknowledge them, then release them. And just allow the breath to subside to a natural rhythm, a smooth, gentle inhale and exhale. I'd like you just to gently, when you're ready, you can stay as long as you need to. Any posture, any shavasana, any relaxation. My doorbell kindly woke me up. So very gently start to find the breath and start to move the fingers, move the toes, move the head. Just reconnect into the back of the body. Feel the breath on the front of the body. And just allow yourself a few moments to come back. Just finding little rocking movements. Gentle with your body. Gentle with yourself. And just allow yourself to come back. Little flops if you need to, but don't be too forceful with anything. You might want to hug the knees in, give them a little old flippy flop, just to release again anything's gotten tight. And just hug and rock, or just rest on one side. And just allow a few breaths on your side. And push yourself back to a seated position when you feel ready. And just take a minute to ground the energy. So when you've been lying down, especially if you were there a bit longer, just allow these energies to ground down. Just find the breath. You can keep the eyes closed if you need to. And just take a moment. Feel the breath, feel the body. Notice the difference if you feel any better. Deep inhale, just to close your practice. And the hands just to sit at the breastbone, either in the prayer position or palms down. And just take a moment of gratitude. Gratitude for maybe the practice, maybe whatever else is happening for you. Be aware. And just take a moment of gratitude. I'm grateful for my practice and to be able to share it with whoever needs it. So do enjoy. Do take your time. Give yourself space and time. And I thank you, even virtually. Hopefully we'll see each other again physically very soon. So thank you very much. Thank you. And just give yourself time, everybody. Let me know if you need anything specific as well. That was what I needed today. So hope that was what you needed too. I'll tune in again soon. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a lovely day. Bye for now.